Hello and welcome to the Talk Podcast, everyone. Today, I want to start and introduce a topic that for a lot of people is definitely sensitive, but also for a lot of people, I think it's somehow quite unknown, right? Not in the sense because we haven't heard about this specific topic that I'm going to introduce, which is HIV. Um, but also because I think people have heard it, but I think people are not really aware nowadays of still how dangerous and easy you can get infected. So I'm sure I did not put this the right way. Forgive me for that. I'm trying to make this a learning experience. And before I will show you guys a clip that I found, which is very heartbreaking, but I guess she's dealing with it quite well, we are going to talk about some, how to put it, some factual points, just get an understanding about this topic before we start comparing or looking into someone's life or, learning from someone's real life experience. And keep in mind, this topic is sensitive, is difficult, and we are not here to make fun of anyone. So let's start. So I was thinking I'm going to make this completely different and also invite some help to make this topic more clear. So I have my little assistant that's going to not only explain what HIV is, but also give us more of an understanding on how this virus actually spreads in the body and if there's a chance to cure it, right? But I need to tell you guys, there isn't. But let's see what we'll find out.
What is HIV? HIV stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus. It's a virus that attacks the body's immune system, specifically targeting CD4 cells, also called T cells, which are a critical part of our immune system. These cells help fight off infections and diseases. If left untreated, HIV reduces the number of CD4 cells in the body, making it harder for the immune system to fight off infections and certain cancers. Over time, this damage can lead to a condition called AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, which is the most severe stage of HIV infection.
Okay, so let's simplify that a bit more. HIV is the virus when into the body, when you're infected with HIV, it breaks down your immune system. So tiny things like a cold could easily turn out to a severe situation with harsh consequences. Now, we also heard a second word, which is AIDS. Now, that is when the virus has fully developed to its peak, when now the illness is completely, you know, it's broken out so far that you cannot go back. Like there's no treatment at that point. Your body is completely weak. All your cells, all the helper cells, the T helper cells who would actually push your immune system and attack viruses and attack the bacteria, they are so weak now. And that is the stage of, the sickness AIDS. So the virus itself is HIV. And when it develops over time into the actual sickness, then it's called AIDS. I hope that is a bit more easy to understand.
How does HIV develop in the body? The infection stage, acute HIV. When a person is first infected with HIV, the virus enters their body and begins to replicate very quickly. This initial stage often causes flu-like symptoms, fever, sore throat, fatigue, swollen lymph nodes, but some people might not notice any symptoms at all. At this point, the virus is highly contagious, even if the person doesn't feel sick. Chronic HIV, latency stage. After the acute phase, HIV slows down and enters a chronic stage. The virus is still active, but it reproduces at lower levels. During this stage, people may feel fine and not have any symptoms for years. However, the virus continues to damage the immune system if untreated. AIDS, advanced HIV. If HIV is not treated, it progresses to AIDS. By this point, the immune system is severely damaged, and the body can no longer fight off infections effectively. People with AIDS are at high risk for opportunistic infections, infections that take advantage of the weakened immune system, and certain cancers. Without treatment, people with AIDS typically survive about 3 years, but modern treatment can prevent most people with HIV from ever reaching this stage. How does HIV spread? HIV is transmitted when certain body fluids from an infected person come into direct contact with a mucous membrane, damaged tissue, or are injected directly into the bloodstream. These body fluids include blood, semen, including pre-seminal fluid, vaginal fluids, rectal fluids, breast milk. The most common ways HIV spreads are unprotected sex, vaginal or anal sex without using a condom or taking medication to prevent HIV, sharing needles or syringes, particularly for drug use, mother-to-child transmission, during pregnancy, childbirth, or breastfeeding if the mother is
Why
untreated.
is it
important to understand HIV? Understanding HIV is critical because it is still a major public health issue. Many people think of it as a problem of the past, but with over 1.2 million people in the U.S. living with HIV and new cases reported every year, it remains a serious concern. Misinformation and stigma surrounding HIV often prevent people from getting tested or treated, which is why education and awareness are so vital. By knowing what HIV is, how it develops, and how it spreads, we can take steps to prevent its transmission, support those living with it, and move closer to ending the epidemic altogether. Let's talk clearly about HIV, medication, and risks. It's crucial to understand that while modern medications have revolutionized how HIV is managed, they do not cure the virus. HIV is a lifelong condition that requires ongoing treatment to control. Let me break this down more clearly so we can address some common misconceptions. HIV medications do not cure the virus. Medications, specifically antiretroviral therapy, ART, are incredibly effective at suppressing the virus. ART reduces the amount of HIV in the body, the viral load, to such low levels that it becomes undetectable in standard tests. Protecting the immune system. By stopping the virus from replicating, ART helps prevent the damage that HIV would otherwise cause to the immune system. Preventing transmission. If someone living with HIV has an undetectable viral load, they cannot transmit the virus to others through sexual contact. This is known as U equals U. Undetectable equals untransmittable. However, here's the key point. ART only controls the virus. It doesn't eliminate it. HIV remains hidden in the body in what are called viral reservoirs, such as certain immune cells and tissues. If someone stops taking their medication, the virus can quickly start replicating again, leading to a rise in viral load and potentially worsening their health. Can someone still get HIV from a person on medication? This depends on whether the person with HIV has achieved an undetectable viral load. If someone living with HIV is on ART and their viral load is undetectable, they cannot transmit the virus through sex, U equals U. However, if their viral load is not undetectable, whether because they haven't started treatment, are not taking their medication consistently, or the treatment isn't working effectively, they can still transmit the virus. Other risks, even with medication in the picture. Medication isn't perfectly accessible. Not everyone living with HIV has consistent access to ART due to factors like cost, healthcare disparities, or lack of awareness. Without treatment, the virus remains active and transmissible. Risk of drug resistance. If ART is not taken as prescribed, the virus can become resistant to the medications, making them less effective. This increases the risk of both progression to AIDS and transmission to others. Other transmission routes exist. Even with an undetectable viral load, HIV can still be transmitted in certain cases, such as through sharing needles or, less commonly, from mother to child during childbirth or breastfeeding if untreated. Not everyone gets tested regularly. Many people don't know their HIV status and may not be on treatment, increasing the risk of unknowingly transmitting the virus. Why is this important to understand? Here's why this conversation matters. HIV isn't a thing of the past. It's still here, and while treatment has made it manageable, we can't ignore that it's a lifelong condition without a cure. People living with HIV can live long, healthy lives on medication, but this depends on access to care and sticking to their treatment plans. Finally, we must stop thinking that HIV medications alone eliminate all risks. Testing, prevention strategies, like PrEP for those who are HIV negative, and education are still essential. The bottom line, HIV medications save lives and prevent transmission, but they are not a cure. Staying informed and taking proactive steps, like regular testing, prevention, and support for those living with HIV, is critical to reducing its impact.